Hello everyone, welcome to Easy Dharma for Difficult Times. These are nightly sessions done by either myself or Pastor David here on the Kechara Facebook page at 9 p.m. every night. Okay, so before we begin, I'm just going to refresh my page so I can see who comes on. Just need to wait a little while my page refreshes. And it's taking a very long time to refresh. And I can't actually see anything at the moment, but anyway. Okay. Let's see if this works. All right. So, yay, Yusang's online. Hello. All right. Okay. So, yeah, as I was saying, these sessions, Easy Dharma for Difficult Times, are nightly sessions done by either myself or Pastor David at 9 p.m. every night here on the Kechara Facebook page. Hello, Mr. Lam. Nice to see you again. Pastor David is also online. Hi, Pastor David. And yeah, so we'll be sharing little bits of Dharma with you every night. We've already done a couple of sessions, well, quite a few sessions actually. And if you'd like to see our previous sessions, you can just scroll down on the Kechara Facebook page, and all of our previous sessions are there for you to see. It's so fun. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. Okay. So, yeah, I'm just going to wait for a couple more people to join. Hi, Chung. And then I'm going to get started on today's topic. Hi, Yiling. Nice to see you here. So what I'm going to be talking about today is actually taking refuge and what it means and how to do it, how to go about doing it, basically. Because it's something that even as Buddhists we're practicing, but even when we're doing our prayers, we're doing our sadhanas, we're going, about doing our particular practices, it's not something that we spend a lot of time focusing on. And it's something that we should actually spend a lot of time focusing on, because I'll explain further as we go on. Okay, so I've seen some more people come online. Hello, Pastor Hani and Alvin Tan. Cindy's online. Karen Wong's also online. Hello. Ben Quiz just joined, and Freon has just joined as well. Thank you for joining tonight's session. So, just a quick recap of what I've been talking about so far since these sessions began, which is tied in with today's session, actually. I began with 4 sessions on the Four Noble Truths, which were the first teachings and the foundational teachings of Buddhism. They were the first teachings given by Buddha Shakyamuni, the historical Buddha. And as part of that, refuge is actually considered part of the fourth noble truth, which is the path towards enlightenment. And so I just want to mention that in those sessions, I actually mentioned that any Buddhist teaching that you come across or you practice can actually be categorized within one of the four noble truths. So today's session, which is on taking refuge, is actually part of the fourth noble truth, which is the path towards enlightenment, what to do and how to practice to actually transform yourselves to become better people so that you can reach that enlightened state. And then in my last 2 sessions, what I've actually been sharing about is the spirit realm. And that was because the previous session was actually based on the karma chart, which was compiled by His Eminence Tenma Rinpoche to basically show us more about karma in our daily lives and how to go about changing that to become more positive and to become more meritorious. So the last 2 sessions was actually talking about the spirit realm, and in that I kind of explain the sufferings of the spirit realm, as well as what leads to that. And what leads to that is actually attachment. Now, attachment is a theme that both myself and Pastor David have also been talking about, because we actually both think it's quite relevant for the time at the moment, especially since we're all in lockdown under the movement control order here in Malaysia, and also all around the world people are now indoors quarantining, so to stay safe from the coronavirus. And since we've been in this situation, a lot of people are feeling a bit angsty, are feeling a bit on edge, and the reason is because we're not being able to fulfill our attachments, whether that's going out to eat, whether that's going to the gym, just hanging out with friends, or even, for the workaholics out there, the attachment of actually working, of doing something, of getting out of the house. And that's one of the reasons that myself and Pastor David have been concentrating on forms of attachment and attachment in general. And especially Pastor David has been sharing methods on how to basically cut attachment without actually having to give it up. So if you want to see those sessions by Pastor David, just scroll down the Kechara Facebook page and you'll see his sessions come up. All right. Now, okay. Hi, Sharon. Sharon's online. Kinho's online. Yinping, a regular. Thank you for joining. Kian's online as well. Pastor Gimli, thank you for joining today's session. Pastor Antoinette as well. Thank you. And Seifong and Edmund as well. And William as well. All right. Okay. So in today's session, I'm going to be talking about taking refuge and what it actually means and how to do it. Now, I explained a little bit earlier for those of you who have just joined that refuge is actually something that we all do in any of our practices. We're always told and taught that you need to take refuge first, and then you need to do your particular practice, and then at the end of that you do a dedication to dedicate the merits that you've generated. Now, when we do it, comparatively, taking refuge is a very small section of it, especially if you're talking about it from the point of view of daily prayers or a particular puja that you're doing. Taking refuge is the thing that is rushed through right at the beginning. Usually Buddhists kind of memorize, especially here in Kechara, it's very easy. And the first thing you do is you memorize taking refuge. And once you've memorized it, everything, you just start with refuge, you do your particular practice, and then you end with your completion dedication. But actually taking refuge is, out of all of that, out of the whole session of your daily practice, your prayers or whatever, taking refuge should actually be your main focus of it. And there is a reason for that. In my previous session, I was talking about methods in which you can protect yourselves from negativity, and especially methods in which you can protect yourselves from negative spirits or things like black magic, negative spirits that are trying to harm you. And Chung had made the comment that if you actually take refuge, that is one of the ways in which you can protect yourselves from negative beings, from negative entities. And Chung's 100% correct when he actually said that. But again, it depends at this level on how strong our refuge is. Okay? Now, what I want to talk about is what refuge actually means, all right? And what it means for your path of practice, all right? Now, taking refuge, when we take refuge, we say we take refuge in the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. All right? Now, when we do that, what are we actually doing? All right? My screen's gone blank. Are we still online?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then it's just my screen. All right. So, when we talk about taking refuge, you take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So the reason why you take refuge in the Buddha is because you have an understanding and an appreciation of the enlightened state. Now, from our point of view, usually this is just from an intellectual perspective, but so it's something that you basically have to study, you have to kind of learn up, you have to read the Dharma books, and you have to understand the difference between our state of being and the state of being of enlightenment, which is completely different. I'm not going to get into that because I actually talked about that in one of my previous sessions when I actually talked about the third noble truth, which was that there is an end to suffering. And that end to suffering is basically when you reach enlightenment. So this whole thing basically hinges on the fact that when our current state, the way that we live, the way that we interact with others is basically all going to be marked by a form of suffering. And what I mean by that is that there's always going to be some form of suffering attached to it. Whereas when you're enlightened, when you're a Buddha, there is no more suffering because you've completely purified your karma, which also, again, if you want to know more about karma, please check out my previous session, which was on the karma chart. All right. Now, when you take refuge in the Buddha, it's not just taking refuge in the enlightened state. It is also taking refuge in the beings who have already achieved enlightenment. And once they have achieved enlightenment, they do share methods and wisdom and practices with us through which we can alleviate our own suffering. For example, Buddha Shakyamuni, he taught the Four Noble Truths. He taught all of the other Buddhist practices after that. And subsequent enlightened masters since then have also shared various practices of mind transformation, various practices of meditation with us that we can use to achieve that state. Okay, so that's why we take refuge in the Buddha. All right, why do we take refuge in the Dharma? We take refuge in the Dharma because the Dharma is actually the teachings. It's actually the practices that the enlightened beings taught, and through these teachings you're able to actually enact self-transformation within your own life to actually make your life better in two senses. One is that you basically lessen the suffering of yourself and you lessen the suffering of others because you yourself transform to be a better, more compassionate, kinder person. And this is the second part of it, that transformation, is that you don't just lessen the suffering, you actually become a source of compassion, you become a source of blessing, you become a source of inspiration for others. Now, that is why you take refuge in the Dharma, because the Dharma are the actual teachings that enable you to basically transform yourself. All right. And then the third is you take refuge in the Sangha. Now, the Sangha is basically the community who know these teachings, who learn these teachings, who embody these teachings, and who share it with others. Now, traditionally speaking, the Sangha jewel is considered a group of 4 or more fully ordained monks or nuns, all right? But that's the official definition of it that people usually use when they're talking about Sangha. But Sangha actually, in the essence of it, means community, all right? It comes from a Sanskrit word that means community. And basically it means a community of practitioners, all right? A community of practitioners who have learned the practices and who are embodying it and who can basically teach it to others so they can help others transform their lives. That's the meaning of the word Sangha. It basically means community. And in our sense, it means our Dharma brothers and sisters, our older Dharma brothers and sisters, when they're actually able to teach with us and share with us Dharma and help us to transform, to become a better person. So usually we say we take refuge in the 3 jewels. And what I've done is I've given you a very quick, easy to understand explanation of what the 3 jewels are. All right? But usually when we're kind of talking about taking refuge, most people, especially within Tibetan Buddhism, we always think about taking refuge in the sense of taking refuge under a guru. And even in that sense, we think about taking refuge only as a formal ceremony, which is actually quite short, but it's still a formal ceremony in which a teacher kind of accepts you as a student and then goes through the motions of the taking refuge ceremony. And yes, that is, the ceremony itself is known as taking refuge. But if we're not in the position to be able to request our guru to be able to take refuge with our guru physically, you fall back on the true meaning of taking refuge, all right? The true meaning of taking refuge is basically when you do this from your heart, okay? So you go in front of representations of the three jewels, which if you have an altar set up properly with representations of the body, speech, and the mind of the Buddha, has the complete representations of the three jewels, and take refuge. So taking refuge is more than just a physical ceremony. Taking refuge is actually an internal thing. It's an internal process that you're supposed to do and you're supposed to go through. But this internal process isn't just one that is done once off. This taking refuge is actually, as a Buddhist, if you're a practicing Buddhist or someone who just, maybe you don't even class yourself as a Buddhist, but you believe in the Buddha's teachings, this is something that you're supposed to do on a day-to-day basis, all right? And when you do that, what happens is you come under the protection of the Buddhas, all right? And a lot of people ask, what does that actually mean? It basically means two things. One is the actual kind of ultimate meaning of coming under the protection of the three jewels is basically, in essence, you're able to stop generating negative karma and you start generating merit. Now, most people kind of leave it as there and just think that it is a divine power that the three jewels have, that they kind of automatically help you in, purifying your negative karma and generating merit. But yes, they do. They do that. But what is the mechanism which allows them, which allows their blessings to kind of flow into your life to be able to do that, to purify your negative karma and generate merit? And here is what a lot of people don't like to hear when you're talking about taking refuge is actually the refuge vows. All right? Now, when you take refuge, either formally in a ceremony, when you officially receive those vows, or when you generate refuge on a daily basis as an internal process, you also consciously make the effort of taking these vows and keeping them. Actually, within refuge, when you take refuge, there's actually 10 vows and there's 12 commitments. I'm not going to get into the commitments today, but I do want to talk about the 10 vows, because this is the mechanism in which taking refuge allows you to purify your negative karma and stop it from accumulating and actually generate merit, all right? Now, within Buddhist practice, when you take refuge, you basically make a conscious effort on a daily basis, because you're generating refuge on a daily basis, on refraining from 10 particular actions. And these 10 particular actions are actions which range from something you do, something very easy to stop doing, to something more difficult to stop doing. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. And when you generate refuge and you consciously hold these 10 vows, you consciously remind yourself not to do these 10 particular actions. You basically stop yourself from collecting negative karma, because these 10 actions are basically the ways in which, generally speaking, we collect negative karma. All right. Now, when we're talking about the 10 vows, it is categorized, these 10 things are basically split into 3 groups. And these 3 groups are known as the body, the speech, and the mind. Okay, now within Buddhism, you will hear this a lot. You'll hear a lot about the body, the speech, and the mind. The reason is because these 3 are basically the ways that you interact with the world. All right? These 3 are the ways that you generate positive karma, that you generate negative karma, and that you generate merit. All right. These 3 are, the kind of the basis of Buddhist practice. All right. So it's your body, your speech, and your mind. All right. They're also known as the 3 doors. All right. Now, the body is obviously the way that you engage in physical actions that can create positive, negative, neutral karma or merit. Your speech and the way that you interact with others is also another way in which this is done. But on a deeper level, the way that you think and the way that you process emotions and thoughts, you also create subtler levels of karma. All right. So this is why the 10 refuge vows are divided into your body, your speech, and your mind and mind. All right. Now there are 3 vows of the body. Okay, and these 3 are killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. So these 3 are kind of self-evident. So I'm not going to talk much about them, but these 3 are basically 3 actions that create negative karma, very, very heavy negative karma. All right. So you're supposed to remind yourself on a daily basis not to engage in these 3 things. All right. Killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. Next, you get to the speech section. Now, the speech section is harder to do than the body section. And the reason is because usually when we're in a situation, it's easier for you to react verbally than it is physically. Because obviously speech for us is easier to do than a particular physical action. All right? So within the speech category, there is actually 4. All right. The first is divisive speech. Now I will explain that. The second is harsh words. The third is lying. And the 4th is idle chatter or gossip. All right. All right. So what is divisive speech? Divisive speech is basically when you use your speech to break up a group, or you use your speech to break up 2 people. So for example, an example that I kind of always use is that there's 3 friends. So you're one of these friends and you have 2 other friends, but these 2 other friends are basically quite closer to each other, and maybe they have a better relationship with each other than you do with them. So what happens is that you might even get jealous because you want to be closer friends with one person. So you use your speech to basically divide these 2 people. All right. Divide these 2 people so you get what you want. All right. So in this particular situation, you want to be closer friends with one of them, but you don't want the other person to be that close a friend with this person. So you use your speech. Now, divisive speech is basically using your speech to divide anybody, no matter the relationship, what their relationship is, whether they're friends, whether they're partners, whether they're husband and wife, whether they're brother and sister, whatever sort of relationship they have. You use your speech to basically create division between the two of them for a particular purpose. Now, this purpose can either be that you want to be closer to one party within this relationship, or you just want to create havoc. All right, because you don't like both of them, so you just use your speech to harm them in that way. All right, this is what is divisive speech. Okay. All right. The second one is harsh words. Now, harsh words usually is defined as basically things like swearing or putting somebody down for the simple reason that you don't like them or they do something to make you a little bit angry. This is known as harsh words. But the thing is that harsh words can also be in the form of scoldings that you give to somebody. Maybe you're somebody's senior at work, or you're an elder brother or sister, or you're even a parent. Sometimes when you scold another person, you're not scolding them for, a valid reason. All right, you're scolding them for the sake of scolding them, or just because you're upset a little bit, and then you start using harsh words. All right. Now, this is something that as conscious Buddhists we need to refrain from doing. All right. So I've talked about divisive speech, and then I've just talked about harsh words. The third one is lying. So lying is basically not telling the truth. All right. This one is kind of self-evident, so I'm not going to go into it. The fourth one, which I always get questioned about whenever I'm talking about the 10 refuge vows, is idle chatter. All right. Now, everybody always asks me, please define idle chatter. All right. Idle chatter basically means gossiping. All right. Now, whenever I remember last year I ran the Buddhist Fundamentals course, which is a 4-week course, one day a week for 4 weeks that we do here in Kechara Forest Retreat. And as part of that, we go into taking refuge and the 10 refuge vows in a bit more detail. And everybody was like, But I really want to gossip. I really want to talk. All right. I really just want to, let it all out and just gossip and talk and just let it out. All right. And then I said to them, there's a difference between letting things out and gossiping. All right. One of our favorite pastimes in Malaysia is going to Yamcha. All right. So wherever you're going out to have a drink with your friends. And usually what ends up happening is you start talking about everything under the sun, and then you start gossiping. All right. You're gossiping about this person, or you're gossiping about that person. Oh my God, I can't believe this person did this. Did you see this person? And what tends to happen in this particular in these instances, when you do start gossiping, is things actually take a negative turn. Now, you might not realize it when you do it, but if you actually analyze what happens when you start gossiping, it starts to turn negative. How does it turn negative? All right? Because you're using your speech to talk about somebody else. Then you're with other people and they start doing the same thing, and you kind of egg each other on to say things about somebody. So the gossip kind of increases and increases and increases to the point where you will actually end up saying negative things about a person. Whether it is true or not is usually not even in the consideration when you start gossiping. All right? It is just that you want to talk, you want to have a little bit of fun. But this little bit of fun leads to negativity because you start generating negative karma with your speech. All right? So unfortunately, I know we all like gossiping about people, but according to the law of karma, when you start gossiping and you get into it, you're going to start creating negative karma if you don't stop it. Okay? So again, all of these 4 things are to basically stop you from creating negative karma. All right? So then I finished the speech section. Then you get onto the mind section. Now the mind section of the 10 refuge vows is basically harder to do. All right? So within the mind section there is 3. The first one is envy or jealousy. The second one is malice or hatred. And the last one is basically wrong view. All right. Now, if you've been listening to or watching my previous sessions, especially on the Four Noble Truths, what I talked about in those sessions was 3 things, which is the cause of all of our suffering, and that is hatred, attachment, and ignorance. All right. So basically, in essence, the 3 vows of the mind, the 3 refuge vows of the mind, is basically to stop these 3 things. All right. The first one is jealousy, is envy. And why are you envious of somebody? Why are you jealous of somebody or a particular situation? All right. So my next door neighbor just got a brand new car. All right. And it's a Porsche. I don't have enough money to buy a Porsche. I wish I did. All right. Okay. So within that statement there, what was it? It was attachment. All right. Attachment will lead to jealousy, will lead to envy. All right. Because one, I'm attached to the fact that he got something that I didn't get, which, I would like to have, which is the Porsche. The second bit in that statement that I just gave is I don't have enough money. I don't have as much money as he does. All right. So here you can see my attachment coming into play. But usually that statement would be classified as jealousy. So attachment, you can see, leads to jealousy. All right. So when we're talking about the vow to cut envy or jealousy, it is also in a reminder to see how your mind works to get you into that state, which is to show you how attached you are to things. All right. And then this actually also leads on to the second vow of the mind, which is hatred or malice. All right. Now, when you hate somebody, or you're malicious towards somebody or in any situation, is because you don't like them. And the reason you don't like them is the flip side of having attachment. So when you have attachment, as Pastor David has explained in his earlier sessions, is you basically magnify the positive qualities of something. All right. On the flip side of it, okay, you can also magnify the negative qualities of somebody or something. And when you magnify those negative qualities, that's what leads to hate, and that's what leads to being malicious. So you can see here it's 2 sides of a coin, basically. You're magnifying either the good or you're magnifying the bad. You magnify the good and it leads to attachment. You magnify the bad and it leads to hatred. Okay? Here you're magnifying things. All right? So again, the vow against hatred or malice is to show you not to magnify something. The same with envy or jealousy is to show you not to magnify the good qualities of something. The vow against hatred is to not magnify the negative qualities of somebody or something. All right? Then you get to the last one of the mind, which is basically wrong view. Wrong view is kind of the hardest to do within the 10 vows, because in order to have a right view, you basically need to study and understand. Here we go. Guess what? guess what you have to understand when you need to when you want to understand right view. You basically need to understand the Four Noble Truths. All right? Yeah, I know I'm harping on about the Four Noble Truths again. And the law of karma. All right? This is how you have right view. Okay? So the vow against the wrong view is to basically understand how karma works, understand how the path to enlightenment actually works, and how to go about implementing it in your life. All right. Now, these are the 10 vows. Now, I'm sure quite a few people have fallen asleep, maybe because they don't want to hear about the vows, or maybe it's a bit too complicated. Maybe you're saying to yourself, "I'm not going to do it because it is a bit too difficult for me." All right. Now, the thing with taking refuge or generating refuge, I'm gonna instead of saying taking refuge, I want to say generate refuge. All right? Because the implication of taking refuge is once you've taken it, you have it. All right? Now, I want to change your thinking about it slightly. I want you to think about it in a way of generating refuge. Because when you generate refuge, all right, it is something that you do constantly. It's something that you should work on doing. It is not you've done it and that's it. It is a process. It is something that you need to work on. Keeping vows. Now, you may be able to keep all three of the bodily vows: killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. Fine, you control yourself from doing it. And then when you get to the speech vows, okay, maybe you don't lie, but because of habituation and the way we live and the way society works, it's going to be very easy for us to start gossiping with people. So you're not going to be able to stop gossiping immediately, all right? But it's something that you work on. It's something that you work on and you strive on every day. That is why I want to term it generating refuge rather than taking refuge, all right? So I've explained the vows. These vows are basically what you do on a day-to-day level. All right, so this basically stops you from generating negative karma. Now, there is the 12 commitments, but I'm not going to get into those at this particular moment in time. When you stop generating negative karma, what happens? You're stopping your habituation. When you stop your habituation, if you remember back to the earlier sessions that when I was talking about karma, you stop your negative karma from multiplying. When you stop your negative karma from multiplying, you can actually, the same process basically allows you to transform your mind to become a better person. All right. So this is generating refuge on a day-to-day level. It's something that you need to do. It's something that you consciously need to do. Consciously remind yourself and consciously go about your day, stopping yourself from doing these 10 actions. And these 10 actions are basically the basis of all Buddhist practice. All right? Whether you're talking about meditational practices, whether you're talking about, doing your sadhanas, whether you're talking about higher tantric practices, whatever, they're all based on these 10 vows. All right? So the basis of all Buddhist practice are these 10 vows. So there's something that we basically gloss over, and then we start talking about, oh, you have the bodhisattva vows, oh, you have the tantric vows. The basis is these refuge vows. In fact, your bodhisattva vows and your tantric vows are based upon these 10 vows. If you don't have your refuge vows and you're not holding your refuge vows properly, you can't actually, even if you receive bodhisattva vows, receive tantric vows, you're not practicing them and you're not keeping them if you do not keep these 10 vows. All right. Now, usually when you talk about vows, people get a bit nervous. They don't want to take vows because the word vow has most people think of it with a negative connotation because you're stopping yourself from doing something. But actually, if you think about it, so what? Because these 10 things that you're stopping yourself from doing are actually leading you to suffer. So why would you think about them negatively? In fact, you'd think about it positively. You'd think about, hey, hang on a minute. These 10 things are causing me pain, are causing me suffering, and are causing other people suffering. So why don't I stop doing them? All right? And then you make a conscious effort of doing it. This is actually the true definition of what a vow means. All right? So now I've explained what taking, it kind of explains taking refuge in the reason behind it, taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, why we do that, and how we go about generating refuge, which is on a day-to-day level, which is keeping the 10 refuge vows. But now I want to talk more about formal practice of taking refuge. And I know that we've gone a bit quite over, which I think I've been talking for about 40 minutes already. But I want to go into the formal side of taking refuge now, all right? How to do it. How do you go about generating refuge when you basically start your prayers, when you basically start your sadhanas or your practices, any merit-making activities, all right? Oh, there's been quite a few people that have joined since I saw my screen. Okay, Cynthia Lee's joined. Keng Hoi has joined. Kevin has joined. Sorry, Sui Kyung has joined. Elsie has also joined. Hello, Rinpoche. Zara Rinpoche has also joined. All right. Got a question from Elsie. Hi, Pastor Niral. How about a white lie, not to hurt someone? So does it break the vow? All right. Okay, so Elsie's comment is about a white lie. All right. Now, if you tell a white lie, so what is a white lie? A white lie is basically telling a lie so it doesn't hurt somebody. All right. Now, okay, I'm going to give you the usual answer is no, telling a white lie is fine. Okay, it doesn't break the vow. But I'm going to give you the deeper answer to that. Telling a white lie actually does break the vow. Okay? But even though I said that, it really depends on the situation. Okay? Now, the reason why is because lying itself, whether you do it from a negative point of view or you do it from a positive point of view, is still telling a lie. You're still not telling the truth. All right? And even though your intention might be to save the other person from pain or suffering, in the long run, it will usually lead to some form of suffering. All right? Now, I'm not going to go into a very detailed example of what this means, okay, or a detailed example of how this would come about. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a very, 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 very simple example. Okay, here's my I hope everybody can see this. Here is my mug. All right, so this is my favorite mug. All right. And I use it all the time. And for some reason, I'm attached to this mug. I'm very attached to it. I love this mug. All right. So just so happens that, maybe we live together or maybe we work together and this mug is in the sink. All right. And then, you basically go and you're doing the washing up one day and you break my mug. All right, you break my mug and you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, I broke his mug. But you remember that I'm extremely attached to this mug, but it's broken, it's gone. All right. So basically I'm looking for my mug and because you want to save me from suffering, all right, you basically I ask you, have you seen my mug? And then you basically respond to me and you say, no, I haven't seen it. All right? That no, I haven't seen it would traditionally be described as a white lie. All right? Because you don't want to tell me the truth that the mug is actually broken. right? Maybe you broke it, maybe somebody else broke it, but whatever. You just basically tell the white lie that you haven't seen my mug, even though you know what happened to it. All right. So you want to save me from that emotional trouble because I was so attached to that particular mug. All right. But then guess what? I'm always going to be looking for that mug because I know it should be in the house or in the office or wherever we are. And and over time, basically it forms me, gives me, I do start to suffer because I missed the mug. I want to know where it is. I want to know what happened to it. All right. So here you can see in this white lie, even though you think it saved me from some form of suffering, in the long run, it actually caused me suffering because you're prolonging my not knowing about what happened to the mug. Whereas if you told me about the mug breaking and then, I'd be upset, but then I'd get over it. Okay, suffering wouldn't be prolonged. Now, it's a very simple example, and you're probably thinking, this doesn't cover everything that a white lie could cover. But just think about it and take that situation and kind of apply it to other forms of telling white lies. So yes, it does kind of stop a person from suffering, but it kind of also prolongs suffering in a sense. Now, if you actually look at any situation, you will see that this will happen. So, unfortunately, telling a white lie does break the vow, but again, it depends on a situation. Maybe the person is not ready to be able to deal with knowing the truth of a situation. That they might not be in the mental capacity or the mental mind frame to be able to deal with knowing a particular fact. So in this case, then it is permissible to tell a white lie, even though for yourself it will actually generate, it will actually mean breaking a vow. But again, vows are not a be-all and end-all. You're supposed to take them situationally, all right? Okay. So Sharon has also got a comment. If for any reason we do not have any image or statue of Buddha, can we take refuge using our visualization? It's a very good question, Sharon, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit, right? All right. But first, which is something I'm going to talk about now. All right. So when we go through the formal way of generating refuge before the start of any of our practices, any prayers or whatever, we usually make 3 prostrations, and as we do that, we say Namo Gurube, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. What does this mean? I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. All right? And then when you sit down, you would repeat the verses, and you'd also take the longer refuge-taking verse, which includes generating bodhicitta. All right? So in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, until enlightened, I seek refuge. Through practicing generosity and other perfections, may I become a Buddha to benefit all. All right? And what do you do? What do you visualize when you do this? All right? All right. So first, I'm gonna go through the thought process of what you should be thinking when you do this, and then I want to share the visualization with you. All right? When you say Namo Gurube, you're actually supposed to be thinking about the good qualities of your Guru. If you've had physical interactions with your Guru, they're going to have made an impact in your life in a positive manner. All right? So you think about the good qualities of your Guru when you recite Namo Gurube. All right? Then when you recite Namo Buddhaya, you're supposed to think about the good qualities of the Buddha. The Buddha, traditionally speaking, it's Buddha Shakyamuni, so you're supposed to remember his life, you remember his deeds, you remember what he did, all right, and how he benefited people, all right? But you can also remember, if you're practicing a specific deity, or you're meditating on a specific deity, or you have a yidam practice, you remember the good qualities of your yidam, all right? Then the third, when you recite Namo Dharmaya, you're supposed to remember the good qualities of the Dharma, how the Dharma is beneficial to yourself and to others, how transformational it is. And then when you say Namo Sanghaya, you're supposed to remember the good qualities of the Sangha. These are people who have actually taken the time to study the Dharma, to learn the Dharma, and are keeping it alive so that it can be taught to you in a manner in which can be relevant to your lives. Now, in our current modern contemporary day and age, all right? All right, so this is what you do when you generate refuge. You think of the three jewels. Here I'm subsuming the Guru with the Buddha. Sometimes it is considered 4 jewels of refuge, the Buddha being separate, the Guru being separate, and then the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. But traditionally speaking, even when you talk about the 3 jewels, the Guru is included in the Buddha jewel, all right? So when you take refuge, you're actually supposed to be remembering the good qualities and generating conviction in the faith you have in the 3 jewels, the Guru, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Now, one of the actually most fundamental retreats that we do within Buddhism is a refuge retreat. And as part of that refuge retreat, the meditations associated with that are basically all meditations where you concentrate on and you think about the good qualities and the benefits of your Guru, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. All right? So if you want to engage in a taking refuge retreat, so I'm going to rephrase it, in a generating refuge retreat, which I really do suggest everybody does, because as your refuge becomes stronger, all your other practices also become stronger. If you're doing deity practices, you will see that the power and the benefits and the blessings that you get from those deity practices actually increase because your refuge is stronger. All right? And when you do a refuge retreat, you're actually able to find that you can actually hold the 10 refuge vows easier. Why? Because you've developed that mental conviction that holding these vows is beneficial. Holding these vows will lead to a reduction in negative karma, and also a increase in spiritual merit. All right? So when you generate merit, please remember, when you recite Namo Guru Be, remember your Guru. Remember your Guru. If you don't have a Guru, maybe you have a particular teacher, if you haven't met or taken formal refuge under a Guru, you can still have a Guru. Having a Guru means basically you follow the teachings of a particular master. It doesn't necessarily mean you have had to have met the master physically. You can still consider that Guru from your heart to be your Guru, and that actually creates the connection. That actually creates a Guru-disciple relationship. All right? Because the Guru-disciple relationship is not created by a physical ceremony of taking refuge. The Guru-disciple relationship is actually generated from the heart of the disciple. This is mentioned clearly in all Buddhist scriptures, especially in the Lamrim. Okay, the Lamrim is the kind of the foundational teachings of our particular lineage, and the refuge visualization, which I'm going to share, actually will start you off on your Lamrim practice. Any higher practice you want to get into, the Lamrim is the fundamental key. So when you follow the refuge visualization, which I'm going to share with you, because it comes from the Lamrim, as you progress on your spiritual journey and learn more and more and practice more and more, and eventually you'll come to start learning the Lamrim and start practicing the Lamrim, and then from that we will lead you to tantric practice. This refuge visualization, which I'm going to share with you, will actually create the causes for you to be able to engage in those practices that come down through our lineage masters. It will create the causes for you to be able to receive those practices and engage in them successfully. All right? All right. So, okay, I have another question by LC, which is how to do the retreat. All right? Okay. Maybe that is something I will get into the next session. Okay, so I can talk more about the Refuge retreat in the next session. So Elsie, please join my next session, which will be on Saturday. All right, it will be on Saturday. So join on the next session on Saturday, and I'll talk. Maybe on that session, I will talk more about the Refuge retreat, but I'll also talk about retreat in general as well. So please join that session on Saturday. All right, so now you get to the Refuge visualization, which is basically kind of tied in with what Sharon was asking, which was about can you take refuge using a visualization rather than physical representations of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha? And the answer basically is yes. But obviously, if you're in a place where you do have the physical representations, please generate your refuge in front of the physical objects. If you're in a place where you do not have the physical representations, then obviously you can use the visualization. Right, now I'm going to get into the visualization. Now the visualization I'm going to share with you is a very, very watered down version of the Lam Rim Refuge visualization, but it's still a little bit complicated. So please bear with me while I share this. All right. Okay. When you take refuge at the beginning of any practice. So this is the visualization you do before you begin your Guru Yoga, before you begin your Yidam practice, before you begin everything. This is the visualization you do. All right. Now, visualizations are termed spatially. All right. Now, I'm going to show you where it is spatially according to where I am. All right. So visualizations are basically done at around arm's length away from you. All right, so at arm's length away is around here. So my visualization would actually be spatially around here. All right, now when you visualize, your visualization shouldn't be too low, because then you will fall asleep. All right, so within all of the text, your visualizations, the bottom level of your visualizations usually start around your eyebrow level. All right. So around here, it's usually said where you're around here, where your two eyebrows would meet if you had a monobrow. All right. So it starts around this level. So basically from this level, I'm hoping my hand's still going to be in the screen when I do this. All right. So from this level, about here, at this level. All right. Now, that's where the bottom of your visualization is. So your visualization basically starts from there and works upwards. All right. Now, the refuge visualization basically starts with a huge throne. And this throne is supported by 8 lions. All right. Now, these lions basically have a symbolism. They basically mean fearlessness. All right. It doesn't mean fearlessness in the face of an enemy who's gonna kill you, so you're fearless and you charge at them or whatever. This fearlessness is fearlessness against your suffering. It's fearlessness against your negative karma. It is a symbol to generate fearlessness. Fearlessness in practicing the Buddha Dharma to transform yourself internally to become a better person. This is what the 8 lions represent. All right, so basically they're holding up a throne. So you can just imagine a big throne basically, and it's held up in 4 corners by the lion. So there's 2 lions in each corner holding it up. All right, and it is very big. All right, and on top of that throne, it's going to get complicated. Here's where it gets complicated. You visualize another 4 thrones. Each of those thrones are held up by 8 lions. All right. So you have one big throne, and on top of that, you visualize, my mistake, 5 thrones. You visualize 5 thrones. My mistake. I do apologize. You visualize 5 smaller thrones. Okay. You put one in the middle. All right. Which is bigger in size than the other 4 thrones. And then you put a smaller throne in front, behind, and to each side of this central throne, right? Now, on the central throne, you visualize Buddha Shakyamuni. And Buddha Shakyamuni is in the form where he's the earth touching mudra. So with his right hand, he's bent over his knee and it's touching the top of the throne. And in his right hand, and in his left hand, he holds a begging bowl. Now this begging bowl is not empty. All right, this begging bowl is full of nectar. It's full of ambrosia. It is full of something that if you drank would heal all of your problems. All right. Now he wears the 3 robes of a fully ordained monk. But here is the difference. Buddha Shakyamuni, even though he physically looks like Buddha Shakyamuni, you need to think strongly that this is your guru. Buddha Shakyamuni and your guru are one and the same. All right? So he's on the central throne. To the Buddha's right, to his right, so if you're looking here, if the Buddha is sitting here on the big throne, there's a smaller throne to his right. All right? On this throne, you visualize the Bodhisattva Maitreya. Okay? So, as you all know, if you've been practicing Ganden Lagyama, the Bodhisattva Maitreya is the current ruler of Ganden heaven. And in the future, he will come down as the next Buddha, and he will turn the wheel of Dharma just like Buddha Shakyamuni did. Okay? Now, on the other side of Buddha Shakyamuni, so Buddha Shakyamuni is here, Maitreya is to this side. On Buddha's left side, so for all of you guys out there, on this side, on the throne on this side, you put Manjushri. All right? Now, the reason why we put these 2 bodhisattvas the reason why these 2 bodhisattvas are included within the refuge visualization is because they represent the 2 main streams of teachings which have come down from Buddha Shakyamuni and which merged and which have become what we know today as the Lamrim. So from the Bodhisattva Maitreya, you have the teachings, this is a very big generalization. From the Bodhisattva Maitreya, you have the teachings on compassion. All right? And from the Bodhisattva Manjushri, you have the teachings on wisdom. All right? These 2 streams of teachings came down and were merged and became what is known as the Lamrim teachings. Now, the Lamrim teachings give you an A to Z all the way towards enlightenment. Right? So they cover the entire path. So that's the reason why these 2 bodhisattvas are included. Excuse me. Now, even though Buddha Shakyamuni is facing us, there is actually a throne behind Buddha Shakyamuni. All right? This throne is the same size as the one that Maitreya and Manjushri are sitting on. And on top of that throne is the Buddha Vajradhara. All right? If you don't know who the Buddha Vajradhara is, you can go online, you can go on, or what he looks like. You can go on samrimchi.com, the blog, you can go to the download section and you can go to our gallery and you can download images of what the Buddha Vajradhara looks like. Buddha Vajradhara is basically the form of Buddha Shakyamuni in which he taught Tantra. All right? So now, when you visualize Buddha Vajradhara, you're actually generating the causes for you to practice Tantra in the future. And not only practice Tantra, but also bear the results of Tantric practice. Okay? So I've done Buddha Shakyamuni in the middle, Maitreya to his right, Manjushri to his left, Vajradhara behind him. Now there's a throne left in front. And on this throne in front, you visualize your guru. All right? Now you'll visualize your guru in cross-legged. Okay? If your guru was a fully ordained monk or nun, please visualize them as wearing the 3 robes of a fully ordained person. All right? Now, the hand mudra they're in is very specific. All right? Their right hand will be in the Dharma teaching mudra, which is like this, which basically means I'm teaching the Dharma. All right? you're expounding, your guru is expounding the Dharma to you. Now, with their left hand is in their lap in the meditative absorption mudra, which is like this, and they're basically holding a long life vase. All right. Now, this has significance and meaning for your practice because it means that through the teaching that you receive from your guru, you're able to enter meditation, and this meditation will be successful. All right. So the success here is visualized as the long life vase. All right. Now, this, I would suggest when you're starting out, you just stop here. You just work every day towards generating this visualization when you take refuge. Work on keeping this visualization and getting it as clear as possible. All right. The actual this is a very watered down version of the Lam Rim Refuge visualization, because the Lam Rim Refuge visualization includes a lot more figures. All right. You basically visualize all the gurus of the lineages, stemming from Maitreya and stemming from Manjushri. You visualize Yidams, you visualize Dharma protectors as well. Now, if you have a specific connection or you think of Dorje Shugden a lot, because I know a lot of people within Kechara, we practice Dorje Shugden very strongly and we practice Dorje Shugden every day. In that case, what you can do is because Dorje Shugden is a enlightened Dharma protector, you can include him in your refuge visualization. So where do you put him? You put him on the bigger throne. All right, in front of your guru. All right, so you've got a big throne and then you've got 5 thrones on there. The Buddha, Maitreya, Manjushri, Vajradhara, and your guru are on thrones. Dorje Shugden you can put in front on the bigger throne. All right, now going back to the refuge, going back to the visualization of your guru. If your guru is alive, you visualize your guru sitting on a throne. Sitting on a cushion on top of the throne. All right. If your guru has already passed into parinirvana, like our guru, His Eminence Samrimji has, you visualize him on a lotus and a moon cushion. All right. So this is your visualization when you take refuge. All right. So if anybody has any questions about this particular visualization, which is a very, very simple version of the Lam Rim Refuge visualization, please ask now. Okay. And if anybody has any other questions regarding refuge, please do ask. All right. Let's just see if we have any other comments or questions. Chung mentions that Maitreya is also known as the giver of the lineage of extensive deeds to our lineage. Correct. He's the technical term. One of them is the extensive, the lineage of extensive deeds. All right. But actually, the lineage doesn't come from Maitreya. Actually, the lineage comes from Buddha Shakyamuni, who gave it to Maitreya. All right, and then from Maitreya, it passed down through the various lineages. But when we're talking about the lineages, when we're representing the lineages in written form or even in visual form, such as your visualizations or in tankas, it is always Maitreya, the lineage stemming from Maitreya, basically, to differentiate it from the lineage stemming from Manjushri. All right, but the teachings were actually taught by Buddha Shakyamuni, obviously. All right, now I've already been talking for more than an hour on refuge, so I think I will end it there. So I hope you've learned something about refuge today and the importance of taking refuge, as well as how to go about doing it on a day-to-day practical level, which is keeping the 10 refuge vows, as well as what to do when we actually take refuge in the sense that you actually meditate on and contemplate on the good qualities and the benefits of the Guru, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, as well as hopefully I've shared a little bit of the refuge visualization with you today. So please, when you next time you take refuge, whether you start your prayers or whatever you're doing, please try to keep this in mind, and please work strongly on this simple version of the visualization that I've shared with all of you today, because it does provide you the foundation and the basis of further practices, such as actual practice of the Lamrim, which obviously serves as a basis for tantric practice. So if you practice this and you get it strong, you will actually already have a strong basis to practice the Lamrim and Tantra in the future. So thank you for joining me today. Pastor David will be on again at 9 p.m. on Friday, and I will join you again 9 p.m. on Saturday, which I'll be talking about the Refuge retreat, because LT wants to know more about that, and maybe I'll talk about retreats more in general as well. Thank you for joining. Have a good night. Stay home, stay safe, and stay spiritual. Good night.